AskReddit. Were you bullied at school? Where are your bullies now, and what did they make of their lives? He became an auto mechanic, was married and had 2 kids. He died around 35 years old, and I ended up teaching his daughter in middle school. She was very smart, which was weird, since he was not at all. I went out of my way to be sure I was kind to her and to be sure there was no negative feelings towards her. She is not her father and had nothing to do with how he treated me. The anti-Snape mentality. Watching a good old Harry Potter AMV while stumbling across this comment has made my day. Wasn't really bullied, but witnessed a lot of bullies. Out of the 2 major ones, one is living a permanent holiday on his family's millions and the other owns a tech business and is mega successful. The whole bullies will fail in life is BS. The just world fallacy is so thoroughly ingrained in our culture that it's hard to tell it's a pattern. The just world fallacy is spread by the former bullies so that people believe successful people must have gotten there through merit and not through luck or sociopathic backstabbing. Hot take: sociopathic backstabbing is a form of merit, not an ethical one, but still. Merit feels like a really weird word to describe it, but it does seem like there is no greater indicator of potential future success than a sociopathic willingness to mistreat and F anyone else in the world over for your own gain. It is an indicator for your amorality though, and if you are amoral, you are very willing to take steps others would not, like muscling your opposition out of the market, or using slave labor, or outsourcing everything for the cheapest possible cost, and amorality, as cruel as it is thus definitely a merit in the economy. Exactly, it actually makes a lot of sense, because obviously anyone who places no value on other people will be able to maximize profitability, but it's a grim thought to think. I mean, clearly for any sane person being inhumane is not an accomplishment, but monetarily speaking embracing bullying behaviors can be enormously beneficial. Yes, and well, they all have normal lives as far as I know. They finished school, got normal jobs, and carried on as nothing had happened. I found out that the thing they tell you about bullies not succeeding in life is just a lie. In all honesty, they have had more successful lives than myself, so it has flipped the other way around. Bullying someone doesn't leave a major impact on your life, while getting bullied can easily lead to social and mental problems. I was bullied every year that I can remember of school, 2nd through 12th grade, 7 to 18 years old, basically non-Americans. I'm skittish around people, even ones I know. I hate going outside. I wear plain clothing, no graphic tees, even though I love many of them, because I don't want to attract attention to myself. I can't assert myself. I can't get a job, because I can't interview to save my life. All my friends are people who my sisters introduced me to, or I met them online. I can do online. I can talk when they can't see me, when they can't judge me for my appearance. Even knowing the root of my problems, and knowing that most people aren't like crappy school kids, and even knowing that most of it is in my head, I can't get over it. I'm not trying to come off as a dick, but reread your post there. That's a lot of can't in that paragraph. While it's not an easy answer, there's something to be said for a little positivity. Can't is so definite. I didn't live your life and I don't know your struggle. I do know that even the smallest shot at getting better dies at can't. My bully would pull my pants down without fail every day from grade 3 to grade 5. It could be while I was eating lunch, or washing my hands, or walking by, just at any point of the day really. She would even pull my underwear down with my pants occasionally. I would get so embarrassed and cry in the bathrooms. Fast forward to now, she came up on Facebook as a friend suggestion, stalked a little, she's now married with a baby girl, some of my colleagues being mutual friends. I asked one of my colleagues about how they knew the bully, and my colleague said the bully was working here and got fired a month before I started working. Apparently she was purposely causing dramas between departments. I asked my colleague what she was like, and my colleague, who didn't know she was a bully, said she was always very rude, unapproachable and difficult to work with. Sounds like some things never change. One of my bullies was / is a friend of my brother's. My brother moved 1,000 miles away from me, but the bully friend still lives in my same area. My brother comes to visit 2 times a year, and during the summer visit, I throw a large party, to which my brother always invites this person. I was chased and taunted unmercifully by this guy all through high school about my weight, looks, lack of boyfriend, or type of boyfriend, when I had one, you name it. My husband is perturbed that my brother is even friends with this guy still, but he and us only see him once a year for about 3 hours. We will survive. I'm 48 now. I'm an adult. I'm over it and not afraid of him. I am, however, pleased, in a petty revenge kind of way, to report he has had not 1, but 2 failed marriages, lost a nice job his sister got him at her company because he came to work drunk, got kicked out of college for who knows what, alleged illegal activity, from what my brother says, and I'm sure his life sucks in other ways. She lost custody of her kids, has been in jail, and divorced several times. All of her mugshots look like those don't try meth ads. I became friends with my high school bully as an adult after we connected on Facebook. She had been a mean girl, popular, was a model, while I was a weird bookish art nerd. She confessed in our 30s a few years into the friendship she had feelings for me. It was wild. I never anticipated it, had always thought she was straight. She got embarrassed and ghosted. After I asked for time to process what she told me, I was interested, just blown away. I have no idea what she's doing now. I think she's a stay-at-home mom. I dunno. I hope she's happy. She turned out not to be a bad person, just troubled. I was never bullied, but a well-known bully tried. He was / is a local scumbag who always had to make people's lives hell if he could. A few years after we all left school, he got drugged up at a party and ended up holding some lad hostage. When the lad's father come to get his son, the bully and some friends jumped the dad and stabbed him a number of times, nearly killing him. The bully was arrested and served time in prison for attempted murder, in which he was mercilessly harassed by even bigger psychos. While in prison, his mum died after a long illness and he never got to say goodbye to her. Upon release from prison, he took to drink and drugs in a big way, and after a number of years of abuse he has all sorts of medical problems and is basically a cripple who looks like he is 20 years older than he should. I can't say I have much sympathy for him. Kid used to put thumbtacks in his shoes, pointing outward, and kick people on our bus, put cicadas in their hair and down their backs, stuff like that. I was a walking target because I was a girl and overweight. I ended up stopping riding the bus for that and a few other bullies. He apologized to me a few years later as adults and said he respected me for dealing with it. I said it was cool, but still tell the story to this day. Jesus, what a psycho with that shoe thing. Sorry you had to deal with that. You know, at the time I was horrified, but it could have been substantially worse. I was never afraid for my life, and it was only on the bus. But thank you. I did, in fact, just freak out, haha. His dad got him into competitive rollerblading to help with his aggression. Got pretty good at it, switched to ice blades, went to a few Olympics, won Dancing with the Stars. He's a nice guy now by all accounts. The moral of the story, if you tell on your bully, they may become a millionaire gold medalist someday. So your bully is Adam Rippon. He talks about being bullied, so that would be interesting. Wrong kind of skating. Apollo, oh no. Taps nose. He's got a nice, cushy job, a wife, 4 kids, and owns his house. and I have PTSD, and I'm currently unemployed, in part because of that diagnosis. But I'm a better person than he is, because I can say without reservation that I've never abused anyone in all the ways he abused me. I still don't forgive him. I want to, but I can't do that yet. See, this is exactly the same as mine, or very close to it. Loads of people think bullies don't do well in life. Actually, they tend to do just fine, and honestly, considering my PTSD diagnosis, medical conditions that come with said diagnosis, I'd rather have been a bully than been bullied like they all bullied me. I'm glad to hear this post. Thanks. I did have a bit of issue with bullying in my first week or so of secondary school, until I stood up for myself. In later years I got on with them just fine. The lead bully, who was one of the biggest in our year, got expelled in year 8 or something. I bumped into him in the street a few years after school and had a short chat. He was a car mechanic and sounded like he was doing alright. What was surprising though was he hadn't apparently grown since year 8. He was at most 5 feet 6 and far from the monster I remembered. I met with the top candidates screened by HR to make the final decision. The bully, who had spent 4 school years cultivating favor with authority figures and inflicting intentional cruelties on me, pretended she did not recognize me while breaking out in a sweat. Blackballed, bitch. Sweet, sweet satisfaction. Yes, afterward I worried that I'd been too harsh, because people change. I had a headhunter friend do a deep off-the-record dive into bullies' work history. Years of good reviews from varying bosses at first, but chaos and high turnover in the ranks in job after job after job. She had a habit of seeking new growth opportunities before it was revealed that she was the problem. Past employers don't typically respond to inquiries by saying, after she left the developers quit fighting and the admins quit crying. Pure poison, she was. I got bullied to a point where I quit school. I started high school at the age of 11, while majority of my classmates were 14 and 15. I ended up quitting school at age 13, but went back and was able to finish high school at the age of 17. My bullies when I was a freshman and sophomore all lead different lives now. One moved to the US, and I heard, got bullied a lot there because of his appearance. He's fat and pimply. Another is now bald because of chemotherapy. She has leukemia. One is in jail because of drug-related charges. This was the first person to ever sexually harass me. I don't know what happened with the rest, nor do I care to find out. I've faced lots of bullies, not just students but teachers too. I ended becoming a teacher and am doing my best not to be like the ones I had. All of this knowledge is assumptions, based on Facebook stalking. One works for his family's company in my hometown. One is married with kids and I think works at a store in my hometown. One has no internet presence whatsoever, so I have no idea what he does. I wish I could say that old cliche of school bully becomes janitor, while bullied nerd becomes billionaire came true, but it turns out we are all just boring and average. And there ain't nothing wrong with being a janitor, it's important work. I've moved on from it all, although the fact that I remember their names decades later probably means something, and I guess the whole experience taught me to not give a crap what people think of me. But on reflection, if I could have my time over again, I probably would have just knocked them on their ass, rather than following the advice of just ignore them, and they'll go away. Yup, one kid always bullied me and turned everyone against me. He acted cool when it was just the two of us hanging out, but whenever we were in a group he made my life hell. It was only in my mid-teens I learned that real friends don't suddenly turn on you for no reason. He turned into a way bigger asshole in his teens. Luckily I had better friends by then. He is still living in my small hometown, and last I met him, he was married with kids and employed at some local business and seems to be doing well. There was one other guy who was mostly a chill dude, but who always was quick to join in on the bullying. He went through some pretty rough mental health issues as a teen. including cutting and probably anorexia. I met him unexpectedly at a party years later at uni, and he said he'd been diagnosed with borderline. I don't know much else, but I know he's alive and has a kid. There were others, but I don't think any of them would have bullied me if it wasn't for the first guy. I sometimes wish for karmic retribution, but his family doesn't deserve anything bad happening to him. The sad part of it is, all three of us probably had pretty crappy home lives. Some people take it out on others, some take it out on themselves. One is in the Navy and engaged to another one of my bullies. I go to college with her now. She seems really in love with him. He threatened to kill me, constantly called me names, and dragged me by my hair. She was stereotypical mean girl, and I was stereotypical emo kid. You know the rest. Bullied, called homophobic slurs, because I wanted to stay in and sketch draw cartoons and not play sports. Kicked and punched a couple of times too. Met both of them years after we went to school together. One had gone to jail for a year. Both acted like they never did anything or remember what they did. I think that's the part that hurt the most, just the sheer disregard. Yes, and things actually turned out quite well for me. I was a really nerdy, very unattractive kid. Kids picked on me a lot. All these years later, I turned out to be quite beautiful and a lawyer. The bullies? Most dropped out of college. The worst of them used to be a very cute kid, but turned into a morbidly obese adult who lives at home. Karma did me good. Last time I saw one of my 8th grade bullies, I was at the courthouse for a speeding ticket, and he was there for his 4th or 5th DUI. Looked extremely methed out. Last time we got in a fight was in the cafeteria. We just had folding tables and metal chairs, and he sits down across from me and just says, "I know you're gay." I'm not. I stood up, folded my chair closed, and rung his bell WWE style. Another one of the guys that bullied me, I'm actually pretty friendly with. He runs a tire store that specializes in semi-truck tires. Pretty solid guy. We talk about hunting on Facebook. Oh, a really funny one. A girl I got in a fight with. Yes, I'm male. This was 5th grade, around the time when the girls were bigger than the guys. Works at a gas station I stop at because they are one of the only ones in the area that carries the Swedish snus that I like. We are pretty friendly. It took her a long time to figure out who I was. She kept saying she had to know me from somewhere, and we couldn't figure it out. Then I came in one day, and she was, like I remember now. We had to sit in the principal's office during recess for a week, because we got in a fight. Finally, the last 2 guys that bullied me a lot in middle school I can't seem to find online. One has a profile, and it looks like he's doing pretty well, but he wouldn't approve my friend request. The other I suspect, maybe dead from drugs or something. Because he wasn't just a bully, he had a lot of run-ins with the law, and was expelled from our district in the 8th grade. I've came to accept the fact that I was immature and annoying in school, because I was about 2 years younger than I should have been. I graduated and went to college at 17. My parents put me in school very young, because I had a speech impediment and I could get free speech therapy at school. But it caused a lot of maturity issues, since I was 2 years younger than everyone else. It was very difficult for me to make friends, and I didn't really have a friends group until my last 2 years of high school. It's funny, I've heard people message me on Facebook and say stuff like, "I'm so sorry for how I treated you in school, I wasn't nice to you." And I'll let them know that I probably wouldn't have been nice to me either. I was an obnoxious immature kid who didn't know when to shut up. Mine died young. I'm not sure how. I felt pretty conflicted when I saw it. One of the first of our class to die. Looking back now, I'm sorry for her. She was just a middle schooler being a jerk, and who isn't a jerk in middle school? I hope her life wasn't sad and making her act out. I hope she got some joy out of it. I was bullied by a group of girls in grammar school and high school. This included both verbal abuse and being sucker punched in the hallways, shoved into lockers, and beat up by the whole group. 4-on-1. After school, the ringleader and roughest meanest one became a nurse and then a manager in a nursing home. As a nurse myself, the thought of her taking care of vulnerable elderly patients makes me cringe. I feel sorry for the employees she manages too. All of them pretty much never left my hometown, Middlesbrough, UK, absolute crap hole, and have multiple kids, and look 10 years older than they are. I moved to sunny California, have a job I love, and have just applied for my master's. Life is good. There was this girl who bullied me since kindergarten. She always picked on me, insulted me and singled me out from group activities. I ignored her, said nothing back. Other kids got sick of her attitude and boycotted her. Fast forward to 8th grade, she starts hanging out with me and calls me her best friend. She says I've always wanted to be like you. I was shocked, but we became good friends. She is an amazing writer now, and I have nothing against her. Many of the mean girls at school ended up pregnant by the time they graduated. Some managed to turn their lives around sooner or later, but quite a few just ended up married and divorced young, working minimum wage jobs, having kids with multiple partners, etc. A few have tried to friend me on Facebook and I nope those requests real quick. We are adults now, so cool if you are no longer a dick, but that doesn't mean I want to be your friend or let you in on my life. Had this main bully in primary school? Yes, there were multiple. He was really effing mean, and talking to his parents or teachers didn't help. During middle school we went to different schools until high school, where we are in the same class. During the summer of 9th grade he approached me on the street and said that he is sorry for being a huge a-hole in primary school, and that he regrets it. We are now mainly poker buddies. He is one of my favorite people. I ran into one of my school bullies a couple days ago, and things haven't changed at all. He talked down to me when he spoke and made fun of me. He even took my lunch money like back when we were in school. Then I thanked him for the Big Mac, grabbed my change, and left happy that I don't work at McDonald's. Mine went on to become a somewhat successful comedy writer, even had an ongoing segment at a site I liked for a while, then faded somewhat, but is doing pretty well for himself. He was always a funny guy. It's one of the reasons he was such an effective bully. He could always figure out the best time to say the meanest thing about you, so I wasn't surprised to find that out. I was very surprised when he sought me out at church one day. I rarely even go to church, so it's amazing we even saw each other. Asked how I was doing, and earnestly apologized for how he treated me when we were younger. 2 of the worst years of my life were largely because of him, and he admitted he'd thought about those years frequently and felt so horrible about how he'd acted. He was glad to hear I was doing well and hoped I could forgive him. I was almost angry. It's satisfying, in a way, to have a villain in your narrative. Somebody you can hold a grudge against. But here this guy was, seeking me out, and acknowledging he'd been a villain, apologizing for it. So I'll let it go, and I'm amazed how good it felt to do so. Several members of my family will never forgive him, and they're baffled that I'm not angry at him anymore, but whatever. I dealt with a lot of crap in my childhood. Letting some of it go feels good. My bully ended up being my ex-best friend. She'd ditch me for her other friends in high school, but when I'd do the same she'd get offended and never wanted to sit with my friends, but expected me to sit with hers. She's at the same small college as I am. She's now a Seventh-day Adventist to fit in with her religious friends. Good Christian girl by day, harassing her ex-boyfriend 2 years after they've broken up. Threatened him and is this close to getting arrested for harassment, which could make her lose her job as a teacher before it's even started by night. My worst bully was a hotshot who fell from grace pretty hard. He was an honors student who played football and baseball, and was pretty damn good at both. Definitely not pro material, but between that and his academics, everybody expected him to be awesome at life. He came from a rock solid upper middle class family too. Dad was retired Air Force, mom had a white collar job for one of the biggest companies in the state, and both of his older siblings were collegiate athletes. A successful black family in a small rural Georgia town is a rare thing. He had a lot going for him, and thus a lot was expected of him. But in middle school, things started to change. He started to care less about school. He started hanging out with the wrong crowd. His grades slipped. His relationship with his parents got worse. By the time we got to high school, he was a certified underachiever. He wasn't in honors classes anymore. His GPA was almost non-existent. He smoked a lot of weed, and I can't remember the specifics, but I believe some sort of injury pretty much put an end to his athletic career before it even really began. He just barely graduated. I heard a rumor that he actually failed and wasn't supposed to, but his family pulled some strings. I choose not to believe that, because I want to believe this guy succeeded. He went to a small college that's pretty much a safety school. He changed his major several times before finally dropping out. I don't know why, but I heard he attempted suicide. At this point, I reached out to him and asked how he was doing. He seemed pleased to hear from me and was super friendly. He said he was indeed taking time off from school and planned to return at some point, but he didn't go into detail, and so I didn't pry. I always thought he was a bully because he was stuck up and thought he was hot stuff, but in hindsight, it's pretty obvious that he was cracking under the pressure. I feel awful for him. Last year, his dad died. My own dad died a month and a half ago. After writing this out, I've decided I'm going to make contact again. Yes, they're really all over the place. One is a middle school teacher. She seems to have changed, but I'd still never leave an impressionable preteen in her care. One actually became a fairly decent friend of mine, suffered some serious tragedies in her life, and currently seems moderately happy. Employed husband, 2 kids, works on and off when she's able. One joined the military, not surprising at all, and basically dropped off the map, though I assume she's more or less fine. One suffered some of the worst tragedy I can imagine, that I'd never wish on anyone. We actually talk every so often now. One became a makeup artist right around when being a makeup artist on YouTube really started taking off. No, you don't know about her, because trust me, she sucks. Others, I have no idea. Children who bully grow up to be all different kinds of adults. Bullying is an action, not a social class. Kids aren't born bullies, they don't always stay bullies, and they bully for different reasons. Some of them will stay crappy people, some will change for the better, some will look back on their interactions with you and be completely unaware that it hurt because they thought you were friends and just sucked at being friends. Some will grow to be successful, some will grow up to be pathetic losers, most will probably grow up to be extremely average. Waiting for them to crash and burn is a waste of your adult life. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe for more.